Okay, quickly diving on to the next topic now about SaaS. Not the usual, the old story of SaaS and Bahu story, but it's a different SaaS altogether. Again, another paradoxical situation. What is SaaS all about? People talk about it as a business model. People talk about it as a delivery model. People talk about it applications. People talk about of it as mobility. I mean, we need to understand that a little bit more, right? I mean, this is especially true for startups. Whenever I meet startups, they say, hey, I'm going to build a SaaS solution, it's a mobility solution and all that. But when we kind of deep dive into it, we understand that the solution is exactly not trying to address any problem, as what Pari and Shoaib articulated, but they use the word SaaS in a very loose manner. So to understand that, I have two great entrepreneurs who have seen successes in that space. So I'll invite Avlesh Singh. Avlesh is from WebEngage, and I will ask him to kind of introduce himself about his company. And I will also have Krish here from ChargeBee. I will ask both of them to kind of speak for a few minutes about their companies that they've done and how they've seen successes. And then from there, I will have a few questions, and then as usual, I will throw it open for Q&A from you all. Okay? So Avlesh, and welcome. You want to give a brief about your company WebEngage, and then I will ask Krish about the same thing.
Hello. How many guys here in this room run SaaS companies or are trying to run SaaS companies? Found. Okay. All right. So I run this company called WebEngage. We're based out of Mumbai. Small startup, 3 years into it. We're trying to solve a slightly new category problem that we think is a problem. Is the ability for marketing and product teams to be able to broadcast or push messages onto their website in a very, very relevant fashion at the right point of time when the consumer is on their website during the flow of what he or she is trying to do on the site. That's a slight description of what we do. We've been around for 3 years, small team, 23, 24, 25 people right now, and we just set up an office in New York. And pretty much everybody in India uses us. All the e-commerce companies that you shop from, they are customers. We're scaling well. A huge room for improvement on all directions. And I'm happy to share some insights with you in course of this planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Just give the introduction very short so we can get into the Q&A.
Sure. Hey, my name is Krish. I'm founder of a company called ChargeBee. We are into subscription billing. So what we essentially do is we are a billing solution for businesses which have an inherent subscription model. We focus on SaaS and e-commerce businesses worldwide. Primarily, so to think of it very simply, what if you just had like a PayPal as your only option to just collect payments and increase the order of complexity when it comes to repeat payments, right? You're selling to 10,000 customers and collecting $10 or $15, which varies month on month. Then the complexity increases, and we as a solution provide a plug-and-play solution through API and also a very easy PayPal-like solution as a billing in between the payment gateways like PayPal or Authorize and Braintree and all that, and the merchant's application. So that's what ChargeBee does. We'll go to the
Fantastic. So Avlesh, we spoke about it much earlier. When you talk about SaaS, people have this notion that it's supposed to be cheap, that's supposed to be prevalent, and the way people are going to consume it. I mean, there are multiple notions around it which are perhaps not the right way to do it. And we heard the earlier speaker also talk about it from a different concept to address the larger market as to how people can go. And SaaS is clearly one of the areas. Can you explain to people as to what SaaS is all about, and is it necessarily cheap?
I keep saying this this is one thing that I would like to go back and change in WebEngage if at all I had to change something. I would not have been a cheap product, and I don't want to be a cheap product. SaaS is not a pricing model. SaaS is a delivery model. It's just how your product works, delivered in a very simple fashion on the cloud. Zero touch, no installation, no servers, no management. That's SaaS for you. How a SaaS product is priced is very, very different. It has nothing to do with the term SaaS. SaaS doesn't mean cheap. That's my belief. A lot of people believe otherwise. But to me, SaaS doesn't mean cheap. SaaS doesn't mean just because I have a product and somebody can sign up and use online doesn't make it SaaS either. When you say SaaS, it's essentially when you sell it to a customer, of course you have to solve a pain. And that's a recurring pain. It's not a one-time pain that you solved, and just because your product could be used online through a login password doesn't make it SaaS. It is something that is a problem that is a pain point for your customer on an ongoing basis, uses your products, and keeps paying you for the longest term, as long as the product solves that pain point. To me, that is SaaS. We often get confused with the term primarily because of precedents that have been set in the past, in the last 10 years or so, from early starters like Basecamp to all the new age companies, from task management, ERPs, to marketing automation solutions. You have a close look at who has actually made a dent in SaaS world. You'll be able to list them on fingers. There have been very few companies in the SaaS world who have managed to actually be outliers and go beyond a reasonable amount of scale. When I say reasonable, let's say $50 million in revenue or higher. Very few companies have managed to do that. Zendesk being the latest example, they did an IPO. If you see where all these companies have made most of their money from, they have actually made their money from the large enterprise sales. The point being that no matter how hard you tried, by selling your $10 and $15 product, which we also sell unfortunately, you can only get as far. A company with huge amount of traction, Olark, live chat tool, a lot of you must have experienced it. They've been around for a long time, great product, works very well. So many people use it, still not significant enough in terms of how much money does it make. That's the fundamental problem with being a SaaS product. And it's not a product problem. It's just how we position the product and what is the pricing that we command for the product, as long as the market is willing to pay. But just because you're a SaaS product, you don't have to become cheap. And this has been the biggest learning for us. We have changed our pricing 4 times in the last 3 years. And there's one more as we speak, there is one more on the way. We have been discovering what our right price is. I don't think we still know what our right price is. But we know for sure that it's being sold for cheap. It's solving a big enough pain, and just because it's being delivered through a very easy channel doesn't make it any less pricier. So that's one classic fallacy that we need to understand as on. India is a great place to build a SaaS business. We've seen it in the last few years. Companies like Freshdesk, they're doing amazingly well. And we have all the right ingredients to build a global SaaS play from India. We just need to get a few things right. Marketing and pricing are the 2 things in there.
Great. So Krish, no, we spoke about it much earlier as well, about the traits of this SaaS delivery model that we talked about here. You talked about the integration of the product with the existing products of the customer is most important when it comes to seeing the success in that area. Can you kind of double down on that for the benefit of the audience?
Sure. Right. Just to give some context, right? So there are B2B solutions which are solving business problems, and then there are B2C solutions which could be standalone or, right? So totally different spectrums that we deal with. But when it comes to B2B solutions, right? If you are building a SaaS product and you want to make it globally relevant, one thing to understand is your data going to reside in isolation is the key, right? And most often than not, 90% or more, this data needs to be integrated into multiple systems. And when people actually evaluate your solution, they are looking at a seamless transaction of the movement of this data across these applications, at least the most relevant one, so that they are able to get maximum value out of that. Right? Otherwise, we are talking about putting people in between these systems to make them work together. And when you are building a SaaS solution, people give you more weightage. It gives you increased credibility when this is integrated into multiple other applications. A case in point being the number of inquiries that for a billing solution like ours, people ask for integration into either a helpdesk system or a CRM system. On a daily basis, we get like at least 2 or 3 Salesforce requests. Simple reason, their sales team is sitting on Salesforce, and then support team uses something else, and they want to make sure their customer information is readily available. And when the sales team is talking to a customer, they want to know whether the customer is paying customer and how much is their MRR, meaning monthly recurring revenue from the customer, and which plan is he on, so that they are able to give him the right type of support. So having these integrations in place while evaluating a product gives you are actually standing on the shoulders of somebody else by just integrating into an open API and making it available, right? You don't even need like a deeper partnership with bigger solutions to be able to achieve that. So almost all SaaS solutions now have an open API, right? So we see the companies which are actually scaling very nicely, we see that they are well integrated at least into several products. A case in point for us being a dependency, but also worked very much in favor is just being able to say we are integrated with 30 plus payment gateways globally, just gets attention of people when they come to our website and say, okay, 30 plus payment gateways. So you guys must be around for quite some time. No, that was actually a neat trick. Right? We partner with a guy who's already integrated into something like that. Right? So we see that increasingly is absolutely important for a SaaS solution to be integrated very nicely into an ecosystem of services, and that's important.
Just to add to that, I think this nicely kind of goes well with what Sohail was trying to explain. Shoaib, I'm sorry, what Shoaib was trying to explain. The analogy is in the online world. Integrated solution, available, trusted sources. So while you may not know WebEngage, but you would know the other tool, which is a bit more, ubiquitous, present, and people have a trust and faith. So if you are integrated, the trust is passed on to you as well. So it works very nicely. And how you do things in the online world, you can draw analogies from what you're doing offline. But all these things in SaaS becomes imperative. For us, we are integrated into pretty much all the online platforms. Shopify, WordPress, Magento now. Well, does that help? Yes, it does. Almost 25% of our signups, they come from those places. People who would not even have known us otherwise. They look for their pain problems in those platforms. They discover WebEngage. Because we are a plugin, you're trusted because you've gone through that cycle of being a plugin and security and all those modules. So people feel comfortable installing you. These are people who have not met, who don't even know you. They're seeing you for the first time. So in the SaaS parallels, the more and more you try and piggy bank, the better your chances of success are. And look at all the possible avenues depending upon the product that you are. Chris gave a very good example of how he is integrated with payment gateways. We are integrated inside WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, all of them. And it gives you a lot of credibility.
Yeah, which is very important now. My next question was coming from that side. Can you demystify, especially the startups over here who are building SaaS products or SaaS delivery applications from that angle? Can you demystify the aspect of stakeholders and the customers? Because somewhere down the line, there's a lot of confusion between them, and the effort is channelized on the wrong side.
Sure. By stakeholders, we also mean the different solutions or different parties who are involved in eventually using your solution, right? To be able to use your solution. Right. So when let's take the case where like 100 customers are evaluating your product, right? And you could be serving a completely different personas of users. Let's say you are targeting startups, and most likely you find either founders or the key decision maker themselves being the evaluator of the product who comes in and then starts using your product through the trial. Now, understanding what is essential to be able to get them to start using a product is the key. In our case, to be able to use a billing solution, we also need an automated way for them to collect payments, which means there is a third-party dependency of having a payment gateway account. Now, the moment we say, okay, you also need a payment gateway to be able to use it, then it goes to somebody else who is supposed to apply for a payment gateway account, get the account in the next 2 to 4 weeks or whatever it used to take, and come back with the valid account so that they are able to make use of it. Now, that would be a very long cycle in a do-it-yourself solution that you are beginning to sell at $49, $79 price point. Now, how do we get around that is something that we really need to think about. Now, in our case, what we did is we built a dummy payment gateway which would just do everything that a payment gateway would do, a generic payment gateway will do, so that you eliminate the dependency when they are evaluating the product. But having the right partner in place so that you are able to bundle your solution so they are readily coming on board is important. When you are building, in our case, it's global solution, and people coming from Australia or US or Canada, you need to have the partner in each of these countries have a ready payment gateway who is pre-negotiated, readily available, and then getting them on board is essential for the eventual success of getting a paying customer. So understanding all these third-party dependencies is very important apart from the integration aspect.
Very nice. I'll just open it for questions now. We have about 6-7 minutes of the session left over. So more questions from the audience. Yeah.
This is for both of you. Both of you alluded to this ecosystem of SaaS applications and how by integrating to them, you can ride on their success, like piggyback. So in e-commerce, we have third-party marketplaces, Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm now, which is emerging. How can we think about SaaS in a similar way? Is there an existing ecosystem? And if there is a budding entrepreneur here, who should they be targeting to integrate to?
All the, I would say all the e-commerce platforms, the popular e-commerce platforms. If you're looking at the SMB segment, definitely start with the emerging ones. So we serve about a few hundred e-commerce companies in that category, and predominantly you see the ones who are actually getting into SaaS solution are early adopters of SaaS solutions are all on Squarespace, Wix. Actually, they are not e-commerce solutions, but they are GoDaddy competitors, right? They're trying to take on somebody like a GoDaddy. And then in the e-commerce space, you see BigCommerce, Shopify, Magento. These are platforms that you can get integrated into as a platform on which an e-commerce solution is getting built, right? I don't see I'm not able to understand how a Flipkart is an independent solution. I'm not able to relate to that analogy, but if you're building a SaaS solution and you want to sell to lots of businesses which are in the e-commerce space, then a platform play would be the best way to do it.
Is your question more around building a SaaS for SaaS where discovery is easy? Is that the question?
I'm actually thinking more in terms of go ahead.
Marketplace for SaaS?
Is there a marketplace for SaaS or like?
There are quite a few. There are quite a few that already exist. You know, the latest kid on the block is Product Hunt. There's so many of them who have been around from the likes of AppSumo and so on and so forth. See, the problem is they have their own issues. We are listed on a few of them. And I don't think I would even say it has helped. It's just any other page on the web. The problem is they themselves have a problem with their discovery. So when the right guy needs a product, he or she doesn't know that's the place to go. The larger problem being historically most products, they've been catered to IT people. Most of the times IT has been your primary guy that you target for selling your product. Things are changing now. A lot of SaaS products are non-CRM-ish. They serve different purposes. They solve different pains. Those people are not yet looking on the platforms that you mentioned. I think there is a very good opportunity for all emerging category software to be discovered in a very different way. And I like what Product Hunt is doing. You should take a look at it. It's pretty different take on how you discover products like this. So it's more like a push. Depending upon your persona. If I am this kind of a guy, these are the 5 products I might like. And it's a very interesting take. It's a very interesting take as against dumb listings in some place, the usual reviews and ratings and so on and so forth. There is an opportunity. If that's the question, I think there's an opportunity.
There are also places like GetApp.
GetApp, Sumo,
Absolutely.
So I have the next question. So I just wanted you to list the top 4 channels to reach to these businesses in the overseas market and the top 3-4 channels that you use to get these businesses on board for your SaaS products in India perspective.
Okay. I wish I had an answer. Okay, so I'll tell you what has worked for us, and it might not be the case in point for your product. So for the biggest source of acquisition for WebEngage and almost zero cost has been the Powered by WebEngage logo that we stick into our products. So unless you're an enterprise customer paying us around $1,000 and above every month, you wouldn't be able to remove it. And that so every time you are trying to abandon a cart on some site that you trust, a Flipkart or a Snapdeal or a Jabong or a Myntra. I'm giving Indian examples. Every time you see it on them, many a times people who run other businesses also, they relate to it and say, oh, this is something that I like. Now, unfortunate for us is that Flipkart wouldn't showcase the Powered by WebEngage logo. But on all the other long tail small websites across the globe, where it shows up, people instantly see Powered by WebEngage. They don't even know us. They would click, come to the site. And what we work very hard is those clicks that bring users to our site, we have optimized the entire experience. So we know what you have seen, we know what you have clicked on, and why you came to the site. And our journey is optimized. So the site changes, it changes in facade and messaging and a lot of those things. So we do a lot of that kind of silly stuff. But that's what works. That's how you got to do it. So that's one biggest source of acquisition. The other is, I was mentioning these integrations that we've done. WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, Shopify. It makes absolute sense. We continue to go deeper in those. So for now, what we have is a very plain, simple vanilla plugin, which doesn't do much beyond integrating WebEngage on your Shopify store. But what we are figuring out is there is so much inside Shopify that we can use to even make the WebEngage plugin smarter on them, on their sites. So there we continue to, because we are seeing success in the integrations, we're going deeper. That's the second biggest source of acquisition. The third one is content marketing. And I think that's one thing that pretty much all the new age SaaS companies from India are doing a good job. There's a huge room. I've seen how companies in the valley do it, and we need to catch up on that. For us, it's around 15 to 20% of all our signups. We do distribute content across multiple sources. So that's the third biggest source, and the rest is all this. We have inside sales team making phone calls, emails. So that's the fourth biggest channel. Content marketing.
What exactly do you mean?
So it's kind of a mix of multiple things that you do. The idea being very simple, that you generate good quality content around your product and write it from a customer perspective. So instead of saying I have 10 features, you start saying, well, you know what? There is this customer who had this problem. Users used to come to the site, add product to the cart, but 90% of them would leave. And here is how we reduce it to 70%. And you kind of sell, of course, your product in disguise, but you do that with a very different channel, very different effort. So you create that content, you distribute it through different lists. So there are multiple ways of distributing your content now. I mean, of course, it depends on your quality and whether people are willing to receive it. But there are, platforms like HubSpot and the likes, wherein there are so many ways, interesting ways now to get your content discovered. And we sell as a freemium product. So we give away a free version of the product just for free. It doesn't have a price tag. And the best part with that is, of course, we don't make money on that. But the good part with that is that we can actually push the content to a much larger pool, which is acquired by us and not rely on third-party source. So it also helps. And then we use third parties as well. You'll see us on Quora and HubSpot and a bunch of these.
Yeah, guys. So this question is mainly based on the approach. The answer could be very, very generic. Could be based on your personal experience. Now, you've interacted with a lot of enterprises as well as SMBs, and Avlesh, you mentioned that the enterprises is where most of the money is. As a nascent startup, myself, one concern was the approach towards enterprises. One was go directly to enterprises, wherein if, say, our competitors are well-established brands, there is a concern of being disregarded as an unknown brand. Two is approaching SMBs and reiterating the technology, making sure that's perfected, but then approaching enterprises as an SMB class brand. What approach would you believe, or in your experience interacting with enterprises now that they perceive us as, which approach would be better in terms of your experience?
Okay. So in my perspective, building as a small company, building directly for enterprises is very hard, because it's going to take you 1.5 to 2 years before you are able to even you become comparable to an established product in the same category that is attractive to an enterprise, right? The other way to approach this is narrow down the focus in terms of what you are going to do, right? Do the very minimal stuff that will solve just one problem that is relevant for early adopters in the small segment as well as then enterprises. Right? So you are not trying to, if you are selling help desk, right? You don't try to sell everything, say a Remedy has. Right? You start with something extremely small, and then you work your way through the organization. This is where his point is very relevant, which is you don't have to sell through the IT teams anymore. You are directly selling to the marketing folks, the support team, the sales guys, the guys who are having the pain, have a budget to just spend, have a discretionary spend of $50 to start spending on the product. You work your way through the guys who are actually using the product, and then you eventually bubble up, and then you get to a point where somebody notices, hey, who the hell is getting $2,000, right? Why are we getting charged $2,000? And then that's when the indirect purchasing team is going to come to you. Till that time, you can easily sell into these big companies at a much lower price point, $50, $100 price points, and work your through these organizations. So at that stage, as your product becomes more and more sophisticated, you can start selling to small companies as well as enterprises, and then eventually address it at much bigger scale.
Okay, we'll take one last question there. Yeah.
This may sound like a philosophical or a rhetorical question, but have we diluted our understanding of SaaS in general by labeling exposed API integration and transactional services as SaaS in the new age SaaS companies? The answer could be just a yes or a no. Actually, I'm not looking for a detailed explanation for it.
I don't know how to answer that question. As I said, SaaS in itself is a delivery model.
Right.
Nothing else. It's not a business model. It's not a pricing model. It's not a product definition. It's nothing. It's just a delivery model. I wouldn't be too much worried about any kind of company building and selling a SaaS product, because it can be done. As long as what you're building is a recurring pain, it's something that people go through every day and are willing to pay for it. And as long as you know your way up in terms of how you are going to upsell, make more money from the same set of customers, and that's built into your product and model, I don't see a reason as to why I wouldn't call it a SaaS. Martjack is as SaaS. What people are trying to do with payment gateway integrations and building the ability to build shops on top of payment gateway, one single page which allows you to sell products. I don't see a reason as to why they cannot evolve into a SaaS product as well. Because the offering, the capability, and the pain point, they qualify for me. Now, the product in their current state may not. That's fine. It's an evolution. We're all going through an evolution. I reiterate, India is the best place to build SaaS companies. And we understand the space a lot more than our global counterparts. We just don't know how to market and sell. And we'll get there. We will get there. It's an easier problem to solve, not a difficult problem to solve. Building the right product is the more difficult part. And I think we do get it. We have seen products. They are coming very fast. And I'm sure we'll do well. It's early days.
Thank you.